All right. So good morning, everyone. On behalf of ESEL and IIC SPIT, I would like to extend a warm welcome to each one of you to our exclusive webinar called My Story. We're extremely delighted to have with us Mr. Dharman Vora, who is the co-founder of Pair Technologies, which is India's first augmented reality based in-time application. This startup is backed by big names like Book My Show, Ola Cabs, Times Group, etc. So without further ado, I would like to request Mr. Dharman to kindly take this session forward for us. Thank you so much.
All right. Hi guys. Hi everyone. All right. So what we'll do is I would ideally like to keep it as a very interactive session. All right. Just to make sure that all of you are there. Also, second thing is for as many of you guys, probably if you can keep the videos on, it kind of makes it more interactive. All right. So we'll start with it. Ideally, I kind of want to keep it as a Q&A type of a session more. Like So what I'll do is I'll give you a brief intro on what I have been doing since the past 4 5 years and how it has been. So generally my startup journey started somewhere about 3.5 years ago. Uh, I remember I was still in my first year, second year of college. All right. So I have been passed out from NM college. Uh, at that time, we were building ambulance in less than 10 minutes. That was Uber for ambulance sort of a model, where our core USP was we were able to provide ambulance in less than 10 minutes. But the challenge was obviously that is a extremely difficult thing to do at the end of the day. We were able to crack that, but overall we realized that the market for that is not really something really good. And secondly, we also realized that is not something that we want to charge for. Right? Like you can kind of cannot charge a dying person at the end of the day. So we gave our softwares to NGOs and all of that. But one thing we kind of gained from it was all the connects that we made. So we did it for about 1.5 year, more or less. And throughout that time, we met a lot of people. We met a lot of VCs. We ended up really going on the ground, talking with a lot of ambulance owners, ambulance drivers, hospitals. I still keep in touch with a lot of our hospital partners. Okay. So that was kind of what we did. By and it was not too big of a scale. We ended up saving about 200 odd lives back then. Right. So that is more or less what we did. This is somewhere around 2015, 2016, 17 types. All right. And then we were just exploring on new ideas, what is happening, what is not there. By the simultaneously, on an average, a good kind of thing I would probably suggest all of you guys to do is make sure you have some sort of a steady income flow, or more or less you have a skill that you are very good at. All right, that is one thing that I think a lot of people do not tell. But ideally, it is always good to have one skill that is always there with you. So, by the way, how many of you guys are in third year, fourth year? What's the average over here? So you guys can probably just chat, comment in the chat box. Like, are you in third year, fourth year? What's the three, four?
First year.
So all of you are in first year, first, second, more or less. So that is good, right? So you still have probably another 2 years, kind of 2 to 3 years to kind of get it done, right? Ideally, what you should try right now is probably try and learn one skill and be very good at it. So, for example, for me, I was always very good at Facebook ads. All right, and Facebook ads is something it's a very niche skill. All right, people who know it, they know it. They don't know it, who don't know at all on that. So I remember and by the way, this was back. I've been doing it since 2015, 2016, when there was hardly any Instagram, Facebook. It was just popping up, more or less. All right. So in 2015, in India at least. So and by the way, that time I think in 2015 or so, was when Instagram also started ads. Like it allowed ads overall. And Facebook was had been allowing ads since roughly about 2011, 2012 kind of a thing. And in US and UK was very well established already as a market, right? And there was a kind of lack of, I would say, good advertisers out there, and it was again a very small niche skill set, and you were paid a lot for it. So I have helped a lot of US and UK based companies. Well, I remember I was still in my first year of college, second year of college, and I was working with a lot of great companies in US and UK, majorly helping them all on their Facebook ads. And that was where I always had a good steady income. So in general, a good rule of thumb for all of us is, I before you kind of go and start your own startup, it makes sense to have one, at least one skill that will pay the rent, more or less. I'm assuming a lot of you would want to uh, ideally be an independent person right now or just after you pass out. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So by default, that also means that independence comes in when you also have your own money at the end of the day, right? And the best way to do it at currency is not to start a startup. That is the truth, right? Startups in by a rule of thumb is a very loss-making engine for a long time. All right, like it will take you years and years, even decades, to actually see some measurable amount of money coming back to you that you can take home at the end of the day. So ideally, always try to maybe more or less, if you want to start up, if you're in first year, first 2 years, just try and hone your skill. Be very good at one particular skill. Make sure you take your time to choose that. Experiment here and there on that. But make sure you kind of are trying to become the master of one skill. That you should know more or less that in India, there is probably very few people in this particular skill that will be better than me. Alright. And make sure it's a very, at least fairly valuable skill and fairly in demand skill. It should not be so small that hardly no one wants it. All right. And make sure you kind of try getting in projects for that. I know a lot of guys who have started. I remember it was my final year exam paper or final year result and the term sheet. We had both together in my hand. Right. And that should be ideally the case for a lot of you guys also. So so this is how I have approached it. You can approach it very differently, no doubt on that. So what happened is I was in second year, and by default, since I was in the whole social media space, I ended up being a food blogger. So I was called at a lot of different restaurants. Uh, I used to visit very frequently to some of the best restaurants in Mumbai here and there, and it was just a good time for me, right? And of course, we were getting free food, so it was kind of good. Like as a college student, I'm being called at a restaurant. It was kind of good for me. I had about 20-30,000 followers, and this is 2017 I'm talking about, when even that number was kind of a big deal, right? So what happened is it was one of those times I took Parth and Dhruvesh. So Parth and Dhruvesh are the other two co-founders. So I took them with me to one of our restaurants, and at that time we ordered, like we just said, okay, let's order pancakes. So there'll be three, one for each of us. But when it arrived, there was only one pancake, and we were very disappointed. And we started digging in deeper, and we realized why is it that if why we are paying for food, right, or we are paying for something we don't even know. It was kind of very crazy if you think about it. Like over the past 100 years, the ordering system has remained the same. The in restaurant ordering, if you look at it, the menu cards are still given on paper, right? It is very crazy, but it is true. Right? It is still given on paper. The ordering system, when you give orders, they're still writing it on paper and pen. The whole system is over there, and it's a complete black box. No one knows any sort of analytics, no data, nothing is being given there. So we decided to solve that. We started by building more and more software. So Parth and Dhruvesh are software developers. Like they passed out of DJ Sangvi. So we ended up realizing, talking with more and more restaurant owners, more and more And by the way, this is how I think you guys should approach this. So tell me, how many of you have a startup idea or some sort of sense that okay, I want to start up, I'm not sure I want to start up. How many of you have a startup idea in your head? I'm not able to open queue over here for some reason. Mm. You guys don't need to raise hands. You can probably just start speaking. That is also okay.
Okay.
Alright, so only one person over here has a startup idea. Others, you guys do not have an idea at all on some sort of a startup. I just want to understand where, in what stage of your startup journey are you guys at currently? Right? Like, has any of you, one of you already have a startup that you have been working on something? You can probably comment in the chat box also. That is also okay. Wow, this is interesting. So none of you guys have ideally worked on any ideas before this?
Not really.
It does not have to be $1 million idea. All right. So let me just burst out some myths for you guys. In the most simplest terms, startup is dhanda. As simple as that. It does not matter what is the end goal of any business. At the end of the day, any business, any startup, whatever you want to call it, right? At the end of it, it has to make some level of profit that you get in your bank, right? That's the whole,
Yes.
more or less, if you think about it, right? No, not just money. It has to be net profit. There's a huge difference between actually making money and making a net profit. There is a huge difference between that. All right. So what happens is a lot of companies make money. Very few actually go out and make net profit, and those two are very different things. All right. And by the way, even we don't make till now. It's a huge thing. Uh, by default, at the end of the day, if you are not making net profit that you can take home, all right, then it's a challenge, or at least you should have a clarity on that. All right. So if you think about it, it's as simple as that. How many of you have actually made money apart from, let's say, internships or some other work? How many of you have actually got a check or made money from somewhere else?
I've made money from fun fair stands. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts. And then even if, let's say, you had one stall and let's say you did got all the materials, did all of the things, you spent 10,000, you got 15,000, you made 5,000, more or
Yeah.
less,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So that counts. So only two or three people, other guys, you have never actually experienced some sort of money coming in, that someone paying you for.
Zero. For me, it would be zero. I've never earned something until now.
Alright, for others, for most of you guys, it is less, or it is like you have never experienced that. Alright, so I would highly encourage, after this session, the first thing you should do ideally is look at how others are making money. Is there some sort of, by default, startup is basically making money at scale. Making money is good. It's a good business. It's making money, right? Making a lot of money is startup. By default, that's the definition of it. And that also is definition of large companies. And just in general, startup is a way you can call it to do that faster. All right. We just want to, more or less, at the end of the day, on a basic level, all right, is where you should more. So, how many of you guys do any sort of investment in anything for that matter, be it crypto, be it NFTs, uh, or any other thing? for that matter. Yeah, yeah, you guys can speak. No need to get in the queue. Yeah, yeah, correct. So more or less, some of you guys have had some experience. So I'm assuming if you are investing over there, you would have made money. Like that's the very logical, rational thing to expect. That if you are investing, you would have. Right now, you have to think that by default, how you're doing is okay. If I'm doing X amount, if I'm making, let's say, 10,000 rupees in 2022. All right. What is it that I can do to, let's say, go from 10,000 to 1 lakh? How much time will it take me to do that? Is there something that I can build over here? All right. So all of us have different journeys and different skill sets. That is one thing as a one rule of thumb. Every entrepreneur is different. Every business person is different. The way of looking at it is completely different for everyone, and everyone has, and that's kind of the unique part. So, and you have to kind of go out there, identify that, okay, what is unique to me? What is it that I bring to the table at the end of the day? What is it that, okay, I can do it? I know, for example, I am very good at Facebook ads, customer acquisition. That is the part where I kind of go very well at. And then you, of course, pick up more skills along the way. Right? You do not have to be best at everything. You have to be good at a lot of other things. Right? I know I'm good at, let's say, HR or hiring. Well, in general, good at in few other things here and there. All right, and that's how you should do it. So I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll explain you how in some sort of a step by step manner on how we ended up actually building this. And by the way, we are about 40 people company now. We have partnered with over 800 plus restaurants in Mumbai. We have over 50,000 plus users. We raised around $500,000 from some of the best venture capitalists in the world. CFO of Book My Show, CFO of Hotstar, uh, CFO of Times Group, actually, right? One of our investors is actually also an investor in Swiggy. So across the board, we have had different investors. And that's just one metric. The ideal metric that I look for is more or less for me is always uh, are the end users actually loving your product? And that's the definition of it. All right. Like if you are building something, so here is how you should ideally think about it. So for those of you who have made some money through some skill set, you should look at probably exploring that more. That okay, I may be good at it. I have done something over here. Can I do that more often, more repeatably? Can I scale that thing? That is how you should look at. And for those of you who have not made any money yet via anything, I would probably ideally recommend you guys to figure out what you are good at, where can you make money, um, are you able to make money or not at the end of the day. All right. So the best practices for that is freelancing. I have done that. I know a lot of people who have freelancing hands down, and there are a lot of ways to do it. You can just go on Google, and I have seen it. A lot of people are just lazy at going to Google and actually searching. They'll talk about it 100 times, and you tell them to search, they won't do it. Just don't be lazy at it. Actually, just end up going to Google, searching everything, going to every other place, reaching out to a lot of people, and get a few clients at the end of the day. Second way is also competitions, prizes here and there where you can think. Stock market, crypto is also one of them. The only drawback is it requires investment upfront, and that is not something that I generally like because it is not a scalable method. With all sort of investment, let's say if you put in 10,000, you can make another 5,000 probably. But if you want to make, let's say, 5 lakh, then you will also need to put in 10 lakhs. And I'm assuming most of us don't have it, right? So it kind of is a drawback of that method. So on an average, I'm wary of investing in that age in the current day. You should learn it. It's a good skill set to learn, but don't look at it as a full-time method that okay, this is where I'll make all my money from. So here is how what happened with us. We were just three founders. We ended up going to a lot of different restaurants. I knew a lot of restaurants at that time, right? Since because of my freelancing days and because I was a food blogger, we kind of knew a lot of different restaurants. So the first thing I did is just call them up and told that okay, I'll visit you guys again and I'll post out. And they're like, oh, that's great. I ended up going there, and the thing I did is I just spoke with them. All right, and this is by default what most of you guys should do. Yeah, yeah, Krutita.
Can you please tell us some pros and cons of affiliate marketing?
Affiliate marketing. The problem with affiliate marketing is in general, on a rule of thumb, it depends on your reach. All right. By default, if let's say 100,000 people see your link or see your product, right, 1,000 of them will end up converting. But the problem with affiliate over here is you don't have 100,000 people to show to. Most of us do not have that network. Unless you have 100,000 followers somewhere or 100,000 people engaging with you on some constant basis. Like for example, let's say even if you become an affiliate marketer, how many friends or how many people would you be able to share that link to? 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 max, right? And then second problem is it is not targeted. As affiliate marketing in general, the thing is, for example, I get for female beauty products and I'm not going to buy it, right? But affiliate marketing is never targeted. So those are the things on affiliate marketing. But the pros are it is quite easy to start. You do not have to have any investment. Yeah, go ahead,
Okay,
Krutika.
so being an student, like what are some other areas we can explore?
So hands down, number one is by default freelancing. I just go to Google, search everything, and ideally try to do freelancing in other countries rather than India. In India also it has advanced a lot. Right? And by default, I'm just saying that because you get paid more over there at the end of the day. It's as simple as that. There are a lot of places which will help you. Like there are sites like Upwork. I remember there is paper content, and that is an Indian one that is helping a lot of guys that I know. And there are a lot of other places. In fact, I have even gotten a few projects that are from Facebook groups, right? So by default, good rule of thumb is any skill. It's as simple as I know translation. Right? I'm assuming most of you are good with English, and we are also good with let's say Hindi, Marathi maybe, and a few language, whichever language you are good at, right? And yeah, as I told, it's as simple as for that matter writing an essay. I know people who get paid $500 just to write an essay. If you are starting out, you can even get paid let's say $50, right? Yeah, that's the wrong way to approach it. It's not never first learn then earn. It's kind of a wrong way to approach it. I have always been a oppositioner to that. You do it by default, you fail at it. You take up a project, even if you fail at it, right? What will you're going to get let's say paid $50. Now you're not being paid $50. That's the worst that will happen. There is nothing. You don't make any loss. There is nothing. You don't have any negative effect to it. Right. But the good part is, if you do it well, you do get paid $50. Second thing is you learn, and that is where you learn. That is a very wrong approach to think that okay, first I will go ahead, learn everything, then I'll start earning. The thing is, the thing that we all need to learn is to earn. Like how to earn is what we have to learn at the end of the day. So freelancing hands down is number one. Second thing I'll probably tell you guys is to do internships, right? Go out, look for internships in India, in US, somewhere where ideally you can get a good amount of opportunity. And right now there are a lot of work from home internships, like most people are offering that. So probably try and optimize on that. Uh, Third thing I would probably suggest for you guys is affiliate is some sort of a good sense to start at to make some money. Right, that is also a decent amount of start. Uh, Crypto NFTs, again, some small level of start, you can do it over there. Right, and then I am also assuming a lot of you guys can also kind of go out, reach out to your parents, and don't ask for a lot. Right, ask let's say 20,000, 25,000. Like don't ask them for a lot of money. Ask them, okay, give me 20,000. I want to start something. And if you have even that small of an amount with you, then you can look at doing things like, okay, can I do some level of exploring in e-commerce, right? Can I sell my products on e-commerce? So I also did e-commerce for a while, made decent money on it. I used to sell as similar as drop shipping, right? I used to get products, just simply drop ship them. It's purely based on Facebook ads. One of the advantages, like I knew Facebook ads, I saw it online. Teaching is also a good option. Teaching is also a good option, right? You can teach, like try, let's say, an academy or other smaller platforms, right? Can you be a teacher over there? Be an English teacher, be a Hindi teacher, Marathi teacher, whatever language. Let's say if you guys are good at, yeah, content writing, any sort of thing, whichever. I'll try to look into it. Okay, this is something, uh, and take 4 or 5 skills. It's not necessary that you only do it with one skill. Right, a person who is, let's say, writing content is also good at writing product descriptions and is also a good writer in other languages and also a good teacher. By default, you don't have to pick only one. You can pick 2 or 3 or 4 of them. Like for example, I did drop shipping plus freelancing, plus I got some money here and there by being a teacher and stuff like that. See, again, it doesn't matter if you are in first year or second year or third year, right? Education in on an average, it's more or less a mentality that okay, is it something I want to do, right? Jack of my, correct. That you should learn all skills, right? Master one. By default, you will end up mastering one, but you should have some level of skill in other things, right? And income stream should be that way. You should have multiple income streams. That is the ideal way to look at it. And also, again, Varun, to your question, it does not, it really does not make, like, I don't think anyone that I have worked with have taken it ki, oh, I am in second year, or I am in third year. Like, no one cares. In all honesty, they'll ask you just to know you a better, right? Okay, I am here or there, just to know you better, but no one holds it against you, right? It is just what we have been fit in, that, oh, I have to first year, oh, I'm in second year, or I'm in third year. No one cares, right? It's as simple as that. You can do it today, you can do it 5 years later. It really does not matter, right? So, as I said, what happened with us is, and this is how my journey has been. So, probably this will kind of give you some guidance. So, by default, I remember I was in my first year, right? And that is when I was making some money, not more, 20, 30,000, 40,000 a month. uh, like I remember in the whole year I made 40, 50,000. Nothing. I was making good money from this skills, doing few projects, small here and there, and just learning everything by default. And this is where you learn, right? Don't think of it. Don't always maximize that. Okay, I want to make money, right? Maximize it to some extent, but learning is by default. But learning correct things. By default, I learned. Okay, this is how it is being done. Okay, can I scale it? And then what happens is, here is the caveat that will always come in. You will realize that okay, if I am putting in X hours, I am making Y amount of money. How do I put in X hours and make Y plus 2Y of money? And that is when you like, okay, this is not something that is scalable. And that is the only difference between any business or a startup, right? In general, business starts at 10 a.m., closes at 8 p.m. at night, right? Startups on an average consistently keep making money. right? Like that sort of differentiating factor exists. That you put in work today, so that after a year you start really reaping out the benefits of it. So I was in my first year, I think, when all of this was happening, and we visited restaurants. We identified a problem. We said, okay, how big is the problem? Let's try figuring that out. Started speaking with a lot of restaurants, and this is where everything, those dots will connect. Like you will start realizing all your skills. Started speaking with a lot of restaurants. Started speaking with a lot of users. Right, anyone who was visiting a restaurant. That do you find this as a problem? Do you think this is a problem? Is it good? Is it bad? How is it for them, right? And the problems were very clear. We were able to see that consistently, that people really did want to see before they order. They want to see the ratings and reviews. They wanted to see, probably, let's say, what my other friends have eaten over here, and they wanted all of that. And the restaurants also wanted to upsell. Restaurants wanted data on their customers, right? They wanted to understand that, okay, do I want, like, is it, can I upsell this customer? Let's say if he has come in 3 times and has ordered brownie, right? If he is coming in fourth time, can I ask him to, let's say, take ice cream brownie this time? Can I? There was no data that was being passed on today, so we started building it for them, right? And few things we were very clear on at that point, right? That this is something that we want to build it for scaling, right? So on an average, this is how you can go through the journey smoothly. What will happen is, if you, let's say, build something for scale from day one, you will fail at it. I think you should have some sort of consistent flow coming in before you start losing it, right? By default, you start investing, because what happens is, once you are building something that is there for scale, you will consistently lose money. Right. All right, I'll just answer the few questions. So, how do you connect with like-minded people online? Uh, E-cells. So, I have been part of e-cells in my college. I have been part of e-cells in different colleges. Events that take place. Right. There are, back in the day, there were few events. There was still, it was a thriving community. Right now, I know there are so many events that is happening across India. Right. Best part is, now it is, all of it is online. Right. I remember I had visited IIT Kharagpur for one of their events. Right. We had to physically go there. Now everything is online. You can kind of do it. Also, second is, many sites ask for resumes for freelance, and that is there. What happens is, even if you, let's say, you do not have anything to write right now, just go out, make 2 or 3 projects for yourself. Right. Make those projects, put it out online, right? Put it on Behance, put it on Word doc, make a good PDF, good looking PDF of it if you are writing, uh, and just make a good resume on based on that projects. So what happens is, in that you can write sample work, and you can write 3 or 4 of, you can put in those links, right? You can put screenshots of that. Then no one really wants by default that, okay, this person has worked in XYZ company, or this person has done that. What happens is, what they want is, has this person done similar things to it? Does he know what he's talking about? Right. So you can just simply make projects for yourself, right? And by the way, this is a neat trick I used to do. What I did is, let's say, for example, I applied for on freelancing here and there. One of the companies reached out to me that this is the project that we want you to do. You will be paid XYZ, and they give you a brief on the project. Then they ask for your resume. What I did is, I quickly went out, built a project for myself similar to that, what they wanted. Right, not exactly that, but similar to it. Made in a good PDF, did the whole, some branding around it, here and there. Added it in my resume of already 3 or 4 things that were relevant to it, and gave them that. So then by default, when they used to ask questions, they used to see, okay, this, he has done something similar to what we want. And then they used to ask questions around that. I used to tell, oh no, this was something that I did as a dream project. Right, this is something I did for myself, and then I saw this opportunity, and I kind of liked it. Right, even though it went reverse, you can always tell them that, and that will always more likely or not give you a lot of options. Right, and do those things, do all those sort of jugas at the end of the day.
That's an awesome trick. In addition to this, I have a question. May I ask it?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Most of the time in internships, they ask the question, "Why should we hire you?" So, what kind of question they actually, what kind of answer do they actually expect? Technical or like the dream is like this, like that?
No, generally it depends who is asking and what is the flow of the conversation. But more or less, a good answer to that is you require XYZ skills to build whatever they want to build, right? And I possess XYZ skills that I already have done few projects for myself. These are the projects that I have done using similar skills, right? And I want to apply it in real world to help a company out. And I think I am confident enough with my skills that I can help you out in this. So that is a good kind of way to do it.
Okay,
How
thank you.
Also, how did you approach investors for raising funds? It works reverse. All right, never. If you reach out, let's say to investors for raising funds, they won't fund you. It has to be that they reach out to you. It's it has to be a reverse manner, but that does not mean you don't reach out to them. Right? You kind of do end up doing that. You have to do it, right? And how did I approach? It was pretty simple, just a cold email. All right. But before that, before probably let's say investors will come in, and let me clear this out very well for all of you. If let's say I were to give you guys 50 lakhs or 1 crore and tell that invest in a company, will you yourself invest in someone who let's say has started 3 4 months ago, probably has 2 or 3 clients, and does not have a good enough plan to do it? All right, you yourself would not go out there and invest it. Also, second thing is pedigree also comes in. Right. S.P.I.T, S.P.T.B.I in general, Bhavans is a good brand name, but it's not the best one out there. All right. We are not from, let's say, IITs or IIMs or some of the top 1% talent in India. Right. We are not those guys, and that is okay. So, what you have to go out and prove is I have a business. I am making, let's say, 1 lakh a month, 2 lakh a month. I'm making some money. Right. I have a good business. I have clients who can verify it. That I have बैंक accounts जिसमें पैसा आ रहा है सच्ची में, and best most importantly I have a product that I can scale. That is the differentiating factor that comes in. I have a product that I can scale. Right, once you have that in place, right, and fundraising is a very long process. Don't let the internet fool you in saying that, oh, I got money in 1 month, I got money in 2 months. On an average it will take you a good 5 to 6 months for money to actually hit your bank. All right. So by default, it's a very long process. All right. So, and also another thing is raising funds is not a one-time thing. It does not happen. So all the startups that you know, have you realized that they more or less keep raising each year or every other year? If you see funding histories of anyone, they'll consistently keep doing it again and again and again. Why do it? It's a vicious circle. In all honesty, you can never stop at let's say raising funds once. You kind of have to again go out, raise funds again 6 8 months later, go out again, raise funds again. All right. Uh, again, bootstrapping is never an industry. It's just a mindset. It does not matter. There is no industry of bootstrapping. All right. The best rule of thumb is so. Also, one more thing. I think a lot of you guys won't realize this. If you look at any sort of company, just any company out there, they will have received investment from somewhere or other. It would just not have been in the news. Right. It is something that may not have been in the news. It may not have been something that may be in the form of equity or things like that. Right. Ideally, what happens is no one will invest, or at least no logical person will invest in a company that is not making any money or does not have any product. All right. Yeah, startup boom has happened in India, no doubt on that. So industries don't have many startups who actually bootstrap. That is wrong actually. There are a lot of startups in all industries that actually bootstrap. They are just not at the scale where the ones who have been funded are. There is a and those are not that much in publicity, right? I know a lot of companies that you may not never have heard of, right? And now they are $1 billion company. They are even larger than that, right? Best example out here. How many of you guys know Ease My Trip?
Is it
You,
the predecessor of Make My Trip?
all right, you guys can probably just raise hands. Whoever knows can probably just raise hand. Ease My Trip. Only one person, two, four, five people, right? Ease My Trip was started after, by the way, it is Ease My Trip is roughly 8 to 10 year old company right now, and it's a $1 billion company, by the way. All right, so called what you call unicorns. It's a $1 billion company. Fun fact: almost 75 to 80% of it is actually owned by the founders. Right, it was started by three brothers, purely bootstrapped, started by founders, and it does similar to things what Make My Trip does on very similar scales, more or less. Right, and it's a stock market listed company, by the way. It's in stock market, IPO listed, right, and profit making. So by default, that's how you should look at it, right? In general, if you think about it, on a simple, plain, logical level, on our BSE listing or IPO listing, or, or basically there are about 2,000 companies in India that are publicly traded companies. All right, out of which only probably let's say 10 or 15 are VC funded, or traditionally how we look at VC funded, right? Most of others are either bootstrapped or they are funded by private equity players. So what happens is you have to look at building, let's say, from 0 to 100 crores in revenue, and then you will by default attract a lot of larger investors who will come in, private equity players, IB bankers will come in, and they will do most of the work for you, right? They will come in, they will tell we want equity in your company because that's a logical way to do it, and that is how ideally it has been done, right? VC funding is something, in fact, that has started recently, and when I say recently, I mean about 15-20 years in India, right? Prior to that, since hundreds of years, in fact, how companies have been made is by people directly going out there, making profits, putting it again, building it. As simple as that. All right. And that is how it should be done. Right. The only reason you have to go out there and raise money is if you want to do the same thing but faster. All right. Like for example, let's say if it were to take me 3 or 4 years, if I am able to do it in 1 or 2 years, only then it makes sense to raise money. Otherwise, it does not make sense to go out there and raise money. But for that, for all of us to reach that stage, we should at least know, right? That this is what I want to build and this is what I want to scale. You can only scale something that you have. And what happens is, so by default, for us also founders, as three founders, we put in roughly about 4 lakhs of our investment before we started. Right. It took us roughly about that much money to survive, learn, get things, get equipments, buy softwares, and do all of those things. Right. And it took us again, for us also, I think before we raised our first round, so we raised our first round in 2019 of July. So before that, I think for good 7 to 8 months, or maybe even more than that, right, was something that we had been doing. All right. And by that time, when we raised, we already had few clients, we had some level of revenue coming in, we had a very good product in our hand. Uh, so those things all come into picture at that time. That, okay, we have these things, and then someone comes in and tells, okay, I like this. This is when I would want to invest. Right. And this is how it will be for most of you guys also. So do not think by default that okay, I'll start a startup, I'll raise funds. That oh, I'll make a pitch deck, I'll make a $1 billion plan, oh, I'll mail out to all investors and I will get funding. Right? No one will fund you. Doesn't work that way. That's the hard truth that no one tells. On an average, baseline is think I want to build a good profitable company. I want धंधा चालू करना है वो धंधा. As simple as that. बिजनेस बनाओ धंधा बनाओ इन्वेस्टर सामने से आएगा. क्या करते जा.
So right now we are at this stage where we are building our profile, okay, and almost everything is online today. So how can we basically start? Because you said learn and then earn should not be our mindset, and the only source of income right now we have is the pocket money we get. Okay, so like
So that is what I
how
told
shall
you,
we
right?
start?
Let's start with making money by I give you all the examples, right? Freelance, teacher, do projects here and there, earn from internships, right? Earn from college fests that are taking place, or any other unique method that you can probably think. Ki, okay, I am good. I know a friend of mine. She was getting about 50 to 60,000, and she was a French teacher. She used to teach French to a few students, like to school students, like fourth, fifth, sixth standard students. She used to teach that, and she used to earn about 40, 50,000 a month, right? Drop shipping, lot of other ways to do it. Right? Be understand that okay, I am good at it and I can make money from it, and genuinely actually put in time towards it. Right? What happens is a lot of people think it, and then they become very lazy to Google it. It's literally one Google search away, but everyone over here is lazy to do that. It's as simple as that.
Okay.
Right? And there are a lot of other ways to do it. It's just that I have never done it, but I know a lot of unique ways. A lot of unique people have gotten it. All right. So I also know probably I remember a friend of mine. He was making some money from influencer marketing. Right, he was an influencer. He made. Also, I also made some money here and there with a few brands back in the day when I had few followers. Right. So just on an average, everyone is different. You'll figure out okay, this is my skill set. This is how I can probably. For example, baking is something a lot of people are doing right now that I know. Right, simply as selling chocolates, selling cakes, baking, things like that. Right. So ideally, learn those, make some money in the next 1 year, save that, then find out a good problem that is big enough. Right. Also, the difference between Sam and Tam, more or less, see, I can give you the nuances of it, but it doesn't make any difference. At the end of the day, in real world, it does not make any difference. Right. Those are the words that you just give out to investors for giving out. Right. Also, by the way, when you're building a product, always make sure it's a big enough market. Right. You have to make sure at least, and by big enough, rule of thumb, keep it roughly about $10 billion for a minimum. That is your market at least worth $10 billion. At least it's going to be worth 10. Like if you have big enough market, and that too in India, like reachable market. All right. Like that should be that okay. If I am going to cater only to India and like okay if I am able to do these things roughly the market size is x, right? The first thing I also searched was how many restaurants are there in India. Right, the first thing when I thought okay, is this a viable business, go out there and start searching those things. Then you search okay, how many restaurants are in the world, how is the market, how many restaurants are buying softwares, what is software industry market like. Then I went out there, spoke with few delivery guys at Zomato, got a contact of someone from Zomato from them, spoke with him, got a contact about it. That way I got a contact of a good enough leader of Zomato and Swiggy, spoke with them on this, understood okay, this the market is big enough, there is a lot of interest over here. Right. So we put in about 3 4 lakhs, build the whole product, and then things like that come in, right? So we are just 3 people back then, and then we had some revenue coming in. All right. And by the way, you will always be ashamed of the first product that you build, right? It was a half-cooked service that we are giving in, right? But At the end of the day, if someone is paying it, it's good. It's as simple as that, right? They like that product, and that is why they are paying it. It solves their problem. You don't have to solve problem of everyone in the world. You only have to solve problem of one person who is willing to pay you for solving that problem, right? You have to solve it for that one person, and then you go out and see, okay, I solved it for one person. Are there other people similar to this one person who has a similar problem? Can my existing product solve that for this person also? Then you go to the second person, then you go to third person, and then once you go to, let's say, 10, 15, 20, 30 people, you will kind of realize, okay, yeah, it kind of makes sense. Then they will tell you that I also have this problem with it. I also have this another problem. Your solution is not solving my particular problem. Then you go out there and start building more. But you're like, okay, if you have this problem, I'll solve it for you. I'll add that in my product. I'll add this in my product. You kind of start adding it. You start building it more. So I remember we did it somewhere around 2019. By the end of whole 2019, we had, I think, 30, 40 odd restaurants that were there. Not more. Right. And till that time also we were just three people. I think in the last few months of 2019 is when we started at SPTVI. So by the way, we are incubated at SPTVI currently, right? We have been in SPTVI since August or September of 2019, right? So we came in 2019. Back then we were in the SPCE college. So S.P.I.T building right now is outside. Previously, it was on 8th floor of the SPCE college. I think no, of S.P.I.T college. My bad. Yeah. So we are over there. Uh, and then also, by the way, I remember in 2017 or so, we had attended one event that was on cryptocurrency, and this is 2017. Right, we had attended, and I was in first year of college. It was just, I think it was a pitch competition or something, right? And I was like, just for the fun of it, I was like, okay, it's nearby to my college. I'll learn a few things. I ended up, and I had liked the space, right? I had met few people from S.P.I.T. I had liked that space, right? And then once we started in 2019, and we realized, okay, now we are big enough, we are making some revenues, something is happening. We need an office space, right? We'll need an office space, and that is when I remember we ended up visiting S.P.I.T once again, and then we ended up getting incubated over there. Right. And I think for all of you guys, that is one of the best advantages that you can take in the next 3 years. Right. Probably in the next 8, 10 months, a year, try making money from all of the other things, learn all of those things, and then go ahead and what I would say is build a product, get few people to pay for it. Even if you are making as low as, let's say, 20,000 or 30,000 a month, right? From that, and you think that, okay, my product is good enough, now I can scale it. Like, this is a big enough problem. And by the way, all of us are to be the first salesperson of our product. Do not think ever as tech person that, okay, I will get in someone, unless and until if you are able to bring in a co-founder who is doing that part and you are doing this part, right? But even if you are, you will still end up selling a lot. That is one thing you have to do, right? And even we have done that. We have cold called. I think I have cold called personally to almost every single restaurant in Mumbai. I have cold visited, just pure, just randomly, just walking in to at least 1,000 odd restaurants in Mumbai, right? And this is how you you get clients. That's the plain and soul way. Talk to people, talk to a lot of people, cold reach them, tell them about your product, tell them about the problem you are solving, tell them that you are already solving it for, let's say, X amount of clients. There's a restaurant nearby, he is using it. Do you want to use it, and things like that? So do those things here and there a little bit, and then I what happens is take advantage of having that incubator already, right? if you have a good place in your college, I think you guys should definitely take advantage of it, right? And by the way, SPTBI also funds a few companies that they given somewhere about 20-25 lakhs or so, and that's a good amount of starting capital for a lot of you guys. And I know for a fact, like let's say if you are making 50,000 or 1 lakh a month type of business, then SPTBI will fund you. Right. So if any one of you are looking at, okay, should how to be funded, that's the answer. Go out there, build a product or build a few products in which you are able to build 1 lakh a month, incubated SPTBI, and more, they will fund you in some time. Right. Obviously, they won't fund you in the first month you come in. They will look at how you are doing it for the next 6 months, how you are growing it. Are you really dedicated towards it? They will look at all of that and then they will fund you. Right. And they have good connects also on an average. Like that, those things are there. Right. So get included, do all of those things. I remember then in 2020, uh, we grew from 40 odd restaurants to I think somewhere about 200 restaurants. By the end of 2020, we had about 200 restaurants. And we were doing so by the end of 2020 is when we started the whole ordering business. Right. We launched our app, I think, in March of 2020, and then lockdown happened again. Right. So we went out there, built the whole thing, uh, did all of those things. In October, we started the ordering business again. We went from that to I think in 6 months we were doing about 5,000 orders a month. We had about 20,000 odd users. We raised a second round of funding. That was from IP Ventures. Did great stuff with that. I remember we raised a second round of funding. Just again, second lockdown came in. Right. We did a few things again, build the product, reached out to more restaurants, started hiring more people in the team, and then you will along the way you will figure out, right, what happens is once you do this, you will realize, okay, by default you have to kind of go at, I was making X amount in revenue, I'm, let's say, losing X amount of money at the end of each month, right? What do I need to bridge that gap? How do I increase it? How do I grow? Then you start making some long term bets, and that is where actually a lot of loss comes in, right? That is when you look at, okay, I will make some amount of loss if I do this thing in long term, or and things like that. So then you start, okay, even if I make, let's say, loss in next for the next 2 years or next 3 years, but I will make more money in profits in the next 3 to 4 years. So that is how you look at it. So also, Rajesh, how do you predict future of a startup in initial stages? You don't, right? You do not. For example, when we started in 2019, something, I did not predict COVID to happen, right? In fact, I remember having a conversation with my co-founder Dhruvesh, I think in January of 2020, right? He's like, "Did you see it in China? They have lockdown. Then there's this and that." And there was a lot of news around it. I like, अरे कुछ नहीं है ये 13-14 days 14 days बंद होगा. Oh, of course they will not close down the whole India. Right? It is a crazy thing to think, oh, the all of India will be closed down. Right? What will happen if everything closes down? This and that. Right? And it did happen at the end of the day. Right? It ended up closing down. It ended up closing down again. I think they might close it down again for the third time. Right? So by default, you do not try to predict the future of your startup. Like in general, you have to have that much hope that I will make money. That okay, I will make a big enough startup. You should have that much hope. Right? That is the only thing that will always carry you. And it's a long, long journey. Don't ever let people fool you that, oh, we are a $1 billion company in 1 year, we are a $1 billion company in 2 years. It happens when you then actually go and look at who the founders were, what they have been doing. So, for example, how many of you guys have heard about, let's say, Mensa brands? Mensa is a, I think they became unicorn in 6 months or a year. How many of you have heard about them? Like Pratham, Tanya, anyone else? Have you guys heard of Mensa Brands? All right, so probably go ahead after this, Google it, see what they are doing. Difficult to explain. Again, Cred became in 1.5 year. Now, Cred, I think I am assuming, let's take an example of Cred. All of you guys know Cred. All right. Go out there and look at what who the founder was, what he has done. Right. The founder built a company before that, which he exited for $400 million. Free charge took what 5 years to reach probably $400 million. Right. It took free charge, so he put in 5 years over there. Before this, he had done another small startup, right, which is very less known, or not even a small business he had done. Before that, he was in corporate for a good 8 to 10 years. All right. So he had worked for 10 years. Then he had built another company which he sold for $400 million for in the next for 5 years. Then he launched Cred. So by default, he did it for 17, 18 years, good 18 years he has worked. Then came in a time when 1.5 year they will get. And then we think, oh, as college students, oh, if I also start up, I will also become $1 billion in 1.5 year. But you have not put in that 15, 20 years. By default, if you have not put in that 20 years. So for example, Mensa Brands, the founder of that had built, uh, I think the firstcry.com. Yeah. So the founders of Mensa Brand had also built firstcry.com. Like $1 billion unicorn founder starting another company. Then they became a unicorn really fast. Because as a person, you trust them. You know that this guy has done it once, right? It makes sense. And again, yes, correct. Same happened with White Hat Junior, Bharat Pay, and almost I would probably say 99% of the very famous ones out there, right? Where we look at them and we are like, oh, they became unicorn so soon. They are getting funded left, right, and center. Why are we not getting funded? What is it? Something that, uh, and it's pretty simple. You never put in that 15, 20 years of work. It's as simple as that. If you go out there, if you have that much time that you work for next 20 years in few companies, you do everything over there, then you will also become that, right? So it's as simple as that. So what happens is it is very glamorous from the outside. We all think that, oh yeah, I will, if I start a startup tomorrow, I will get funding, right? But it doesn't happen that way. The good way to look at it is, can I make X amount of in revenue? Keep those revenue targets consistent. Keep growing that, right? And by default, I think by the time you pass out, you won't realize, but you already will already have a company that is making 1 or 2 crore a year, right? And I'm hoping that that would be profitable. And even if it is not, that is okay. Then you can look at, okay, is it scalable? Is this industry good? Is this something that is killer? And then I'm pretty sure you will find, or in fact, good investors will find you. And also, by the way, just make sure you are talking with them, you are uh, being in constant touch with them. And how do you meet them is pretty simple. You email them, you message them on LinkedIn, you just kind of try to speak with them here and there. And no one will fund you on the first go. Do not expect that I will give a stranger a call, will be on video chat, and he will write me a check for, let's say, a crore. Won't happen. If it happens, well and good, right? Of course, never say no to that. But taking that as a reality, that should happen. Oh, why is he not funding it? Why are we? It's a wrong. Like if you were on the other side of it, would you give stranger that? If you were to give that, you also wouldn't give it. It's as simple as that. Alright. Now what we'll do is we'll just put it on more Q&A. So if any one of you guys have any particular questions on anything across the whole startup ecosystem in the whole startup, feel free to ask.
What's a healthy goal for the steady income you talked about?
Yeah. So by default, look at it as building a business. Think of it that, okay, I want to first go out there and build some revenue, right? What is it that people will pay me for? Am I good at this? Will people, and also something you like doing at the end of the day.
Okay. Any like approximate target, like 10,000, 50,000 per year, like that, something around that.
On an average, a good number to look at is at least 20 to 30,000 a month, right?
A month for a
Yeah,
first
yeah,
year student.
yeah. I know. I know a few of my friends. They're doing in 2 lakhs a month, right? And there have been
That's
cases that
impressive.
you will find a lot of people doing that, right? And again, as I told, no one, and absolutely no one cares if you're in first year or you're in second year or you're in third year or whatever it is, right? No one cares. So how also can we learn freelancing skills if we don't know coding? Yeah, absolutely. Right. Of course, coding is one of the highest paid freelancing skills out there. No doubt on that. But even if you do not know that, as I told, right, I can at least list down six or seven right now. Right. For example, English converting from one language to another. Right. English translation. Second is essays, English essays. And I'm assuming most of you guys are good at it. Like at least we know how to write an essay. Right. Uh, Third is probably teaching. Right. You can teach maths, you can teach science, English to students in first, second, third, fourth. Right. And I'm pretty sure you will easily find them also. Like it's not that. Fourth is probably if you are good at cooking, then you can sell that. You can sell chocolates, cakes, mithai, whatever you feel that okay, this is something I can sell. Right. Uh, Fifth is again freelancing. If some of you are good at designing, simple things on Canva, right? Uh, a lot of you guys can also do drop shipping. That is a good option. That is I did, so I can tell it as a good option. But again, if it works out for you, it works out for you. Uh, and then again, as I said, go out there, look at lists on freelancing websites. Look at what are the things other people are, what are the companies that are asking for it on that website, and see if can you provide that skill. Rather than this way, that is the best. That is also what I also did. Right, I went out there on those websites, saw the list of services, saw it in detail, realized is it something that I can do? If yes, then I'll do it. It was as simple as that. How to identify your competitors? Google. Also, two, three things. If you're building a small business, like if you're building a business that is giving you steady income, you don't have to worry about competitors. India is huge, like population is so huge. Not just India, the whole world, right? We may think, so to give an example, um, let's take restaurants, right? There are over 11,000 restaurants just in Mumbai. There are 6 to 7 restaurants just outside your college. Right. There are, I think, 4 or 5 people selling Frankies just outside your college. Like 5 people in a loop. It's highly competitive, and all of them are making money. Right. They have been there since 4 or 5 years, maybe more. So it's pretty simple. Like you don't have to worry about competition when you are small. You have to worry about competition when you are, let's say, doing 100 crore a year, and then your challenge is to go from 100 crore to 200 crore. Right. Then competition comes in and plays a big factor. Alright. Do you have any other specific questions that you want me to address?
No, sir.
All right, cool. So, can we learn web designing now without any knowledge of coding? Yeah, you can. Like, there are a lot of no-code tools also out there. Right. In all honesty, I am not a person who has done coding or sold coding particularly. Right. But I have been on the receiving end of it. Right. We have had freelancing UI designers, UX designers. Right. Also, I think Not right now, but probably again in 3 to 4 months we'll be hiring interns, right? So what I can do is probably I can share it with the community whenever we are hiring, and then you guys can come and join and learn also and earn also from the same. So what another thing is we sit just outside your college, right? We are in SPTBI 16. Like your LinkedIn profile, Google, just Google it. Just search on LinkedIn, you'll find me, right? Also, more than LinkedIn, literally we're just outside your college. Come and visit anytime, right? You will find someone from our team. Right? We work on Monday to Fridays. Come in anytime in the working hours, and you'll find us.
All right. Are there any further questions for Dharman sir? Okay, I think that's it. Thanks a lot, sir, for your time and for all the valuable insights that you have provided to us today. It was a very enriching experience for each one of us. And before leaving, I would like to request you all to kindly fill up a small form put up in the chat box as a feedback to this session. Thank you so much for joining in. Thanks a lot, sir, again.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Also, if you, I'm just outside your college, basically. Right? Whenever you want, you can come in.
Sure, sir.
Yes,
Thanks a
sir.
lot.
So thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.